We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams is with us this morning talking about day after his exclusive story on Mayor Barry and her admitted affair now. The number 737-7587. We'll take your calls and questions. We're also streaming live on Facebook at NewsChannel5.com. I think you did a good job of being clear on this, and you could see in your questions, again, the direction of your story is looking at whether or not there was any malfeasance involving taxpayer dollars and the like. And I'm getting the sense from people out here, people have different feelings about infidelity.
Right.
But the essence here really is going to be what we learn more and if there can be any sign whether or not money was spent to support this affair.
Exactly, because there are always rumors in the political world about so-and-so is sleeping with X person, or cheating on his wife or cheating on her husband, and unless there is a clear public policy issue, I mean, we don't have time or the inclination to chase down every single rumor about who's having an affair.
Right.
The question here, and we have tried to emphasize this over and over, is how were taxpayers affected by this relationship? And as you saw in that piece, his overtime went up dramatically once she took office. Now she says, the police department insists that she have security. She's very active. She travels a lot. She's putting in lots of public appearances. And honestly, we don't have a good handle on that yet. This is a still developing story. So, I mean, we're going to try to figure out, is this excessive as far as the security detail? So, I mean, there are questions that we still have, questions that we still want to answer, and that we'll be answering in the hours and days ahead.
Is your understanding that, does she have a security detail that involves more than one individual? I had heard that there might be 4 on the security detail, not that they're always together.
Exactly, and that's my understanding. There are 4 officers who are assigned to her security detail. I've never seen her with 4 officers. Right. So, I think a number of them have other assignments. In fact, if you look at their bios that was on her website, it says that so-and-so also works on this issue or that issue. So I think for those people who are saying, no one else has ever had 4 security officers, that may be true, and we're trying to figure that out. But this notion that she had 4 people with her at all times, just the facts do not support that.
Let's take a few phone calls. We'll go to Taylor. Hi, Taylor.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning to your good investigator there. Good job. Of course, you're just talking about the money at this point, and I think a lot of other people will consider fidelity and the reputation of the city and everything else along with the money. But speaking of the money, I think it would be very interesting to know when the rate of pay jumped for this overtime, or not just overtime, salary in general, on this occasion. And I think it'll probably start telling when, in fact, something may have started with this thing. And as far as when did the affair conclude, she didn't say when, but I think it would be when the soon-to-be ex-wife of Mr. Forrester actually got this thing rolling. It wasn't the mayor coming out and admitting it on her own. This was well developed before that. And as far as I have seen on these trips, it only includes this past year. Well, there's another year prior to that, is there not? The trips and so forth have not been included.
Yeah, and the reason that we only have information for the past year, frankly, when we started asking our questions, we did not know that the affair had been going on for 2 years. And to her credit, one could argue she came out and said, yeah, it's been going on a long time.
Yeah, and that's where you got that information from her. There were some, and I don't know how this would play into it, who thought, well, did this affair perhaps occur after the tragic death of her son?
Right.
Meaning, and in some people's minds, she was very vulnerable, who knows why. But that was not there. And she came clean and said, yes, this has been going on for 2 years while my son was still alive.
Exactly. So, I mean, why does she, come clean with that much detail? I'm not.
Is there a
speculate.
smoking gun out there?
Right.
Photographs, something like that.
What we reported yesterday is that Sergeant Forrest's wife now has an attorney who had sent a letter to the police department saying you need to preserve his police-issued mobile phone because that's potentially evidence. One would presume evidence in a divorce case. And so if all of this could potentially come out anyway, it's probably better for it just to go ahead and put it out there.
Get it out. That's the best way to do it. You and I both know that's the way to do it.
Right.
Be honest, come clean early on.
And then the other thing, and we haven't reported, but we're going to report right here, right now. The mayor, according to her spokesperson, also received a similar letter from the wife's attorney.
They want to get hold of her cell phone.
We're not sure what the letter says. The spokesperson said that the mayor had turned the letter over to her attorney, her personal attorney, so he did not have a copy of it.
Okay.
So, but, what we can conclude is, the mayor was on notice.
Okay. As far as Robert Forrest, he's not talking. His attorney, David Rabin, sent out a statement on behalf, whatever, right?
Right.
I don't know. Aside from that, Robert Forrest is not talking. The mayor, though, did come clean. Last night, they asked her, when did the affair end? In the later interview, I think. And she just said it's over. It's over. She didn't say when. When do you suspect that affair ended?
I really don't want to speculate.
Okay, so we don't know. She never shared anything like that.
I have good information about when it ended, but it's from a single source, and again, my focus has been on the money.
Gotcha. All right. And by the way, there's several people saying here on Facebook, and I've heard it from more than one, saying, look, who cares? It's two consenting adults. Why do we care what someone does in their bedroom? You're missing the point. And let's get back to that. That may be a concern for some people who object to their mayor having, issues of fidelity. But again, I just want to get back to it. Your focus right now is on taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, and you saw me, I think in that piece, ask her if you wanted to have a relationship with this person,
go for it.
Why didn't you have him removed from your security detail so no taxpayer money would be remotely involved?
Great question, and she admitted that was a mistake.
Right.
All right, let's go next to, I believe we've got Joe. Hi, Joe.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. All this other stuff is irrelevant. But if I understand it correctly, there was nine trips that the mayor and the gentleman went. It's those two together. So anybody have to believe in Santa Claus to believe that during these trips that there wasn't some taxpayer money being spent. So that's like you said, that's the crux of the matter. All this other stuff is going to roll out like it is, but this is we'll get more information from it. But she could have took any one of those three guys before. Remember how many she's got now? I don't even know. But the bottom line is the sergeant's salary is roughly up in the high 70s or right around 80,000. Mm-hmm. So he was doubling his salary with taxpayers' money. So
there's a lot of overtime. Yeah, let's be clear on this. Sergeant Forrest, his direct boss is Chief Anderson. It's not the mayor, correct? He was assigned to the mayor.
That is correct. And the police department says that his overtime was approved by someone in the police department, not the mayor.
Not the mayor. So, and would you imagine, you may not know the answer to this, was it the mayor's prerogative to decide which of the 4 security officers would go with her?
I really don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah. Let's see, we've got Councilman Steve Glover on line 1.
That'd be nice.
Hi, Councilman, go ahead. Is Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir, you're on the air.
How are you, sir?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind? I mean, I think you guys are asking the exact right questions. We have to understand if taxpayer dollars were spent. Look, let's don't get into her personal life. That's irrelevant. But we have to make sure we understand if taxpayer dollars were spent in an inappropriate way. And Phil, quite frankly, I mean, you know, I appreciate the fact that you took this and you went there. Be assured the Metro Council, I don't want to speak on behalf of the council, but be assured the council, in my opinion, will take this and look at every aspect of it.
And what would be the proper venue for that, Councilman?
Budget and finance.
Okay. And the chair of budget has already indicated, I think, that there is some responsibility to look at that.
Yeah. Calling for an investigation already, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I apologize.
There is a call for an investigation already. Are you getting a sense of that? I think we were reporting that this morning, that at least one council person has done so.
Perhaps. I've asked some questions. I will continue to ask questions. You know, I think the largest problem we have right now is issues in the entire city. Again, I mean, I don't care. Her personal life, do what you want to, but we have major issues going on in the city, and I think the taxpayers deserve to understand every aspect of how things work. And so, you know, I think it's unfortunate that this has happened, but we can't forget. The council cannot forget what our job is in order to represent the city.
Yeah. And Councilman, I'm curious about, you know, how do you view this? Because if for example, I mean, we know there was a relationship. If, you know, there was overtime and he was, you know, on the clock protecting the mayor, which was his job, does it matter that there was also a relationship going on the side? How does the council get its arms around that issue?
Well, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the council. I'll speak on my behalf, okay? I'm asking what was relative, and when she travels to other cities or other countries, I mean, why, who set the policy on the detail of protection on that? I mean, I'm trying to figure out why we spent that money.
Okay.
Okay.
I think those are the questions that we're going to be asking as well.
Councilman, thank you for calling in. We'll be following this.
Sure.
We appreciate it. Councilman Glover, you know, we're way ahead of ourselves. I think it's very clear that the mayor told you that she has no intention of resigning.
Correct.
Or stepping away from her post. Other people are questioning. She's an elected official, okay? Doesn't appear as though she's committed any crime here, okay? Removing an elected official, if it ever came to that point, the council could pass a resolution asking her to resign. That has no water. I'm just wondering, beyond that, you'd have to move to get a recall vote, or you're going to have to wait until she's up for re-election and vote her out.
Correct.
Those are the options.
And that's, you know, what, less than 2 years now?
There you go. There you go. The other big picture against this backdrop is he was talking about, and Phil, I don't know if this is part of your investigation as much, but gosh, as Pat Nolan, our political analyst, said, this came at a bad time for the city and the mayor. There's some huge billion-dollar projects, the transit plan, that are there, and it goes to the credibility of this mayor who's dealing with this now.
Yeah, and in fact, you know, I talked to one council member this morning on the way in who said, you know, she was the primary spokesperson, the salesperson for this transit plan. And he really questioned whether she can continue to be the spokesperson, the salesperson for that.
He was already getting pushed back, and this doesn't help things.
It does not help.
It's tough. Let's go next to David. Hi, David.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David. What's on your mind?
Well, I think the mayor's done a wonderful job for Nashville. But my question is, when they was doing all this traveling, when did he get off of the clock?
Those kind of things. I guess for a lot of people, that's what it's going to be. It's a tricky thing you're going to be dealing with your I team. Just how are you going to determine where, okay, this is where he wasn't working and getting paid, and this is when he was? It just seems like that's tough.
Yeah, the most delicate way that I could figure out to ask that was, you know, what was he getting paid when you all were having personal time? and again, you know, there's no way really for us to know.
Okay, so we may never know that fact. All right, let's go. I think we have next, I believe, Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. Go ahead, Cheryl.
This is Lucy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lucy.
Yeah, this is not the first time Nashville's been in this kind of situation with a high-ranking official like this. You know, they always say if you're somebody's supervisor, you shouldn't carry on an affair with them at work because you can affect, you know, their getting a promotion or their pay raises and whatnot. I can't remember when it was, and I can't remember his name right now, but we had a chief of police that was having an affair or something while he was on the clock. And I never heard anybody talk about taxpayers paying for him to do that. Does anybody remember that? I'll hang up and take your comments off the air.
Well, we actually had a almost direct parallel many years ago. Former Mayor Bill Boner was having a relationship with the head of his security detail, and there were all sorts of questions about the use of taxpayer money for that relationship.
Yeah.
So this has come up before. For those of us who've been around Nashville for a while, this is deja vu all over again, as they say.
It sure is, and it just keeps happening. Phil, as an investigative reporter and looking at big picture, not necessarily this one, I just, as I look at this, marvel at how these folks in very public positions think they can do something like this and get away with it, and then it not get out, that someone not drop a dime and give someone a call about there's something going on here. It baffles me. And I'm talking about at the federal level. I don't know what happens. Is it ego that gets in the way? Where does it come that she could have possibly thought this could ever remain quiet?
Yeah, and I think they, she probably knew at some point this might come out.
So maybe she just didn't think about it, didn't care?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And again, whenever I report on something like this, I try to see the humanity in the person that I'm covering.
Sure.
I mean, who knows what kind of personal vulnerability there was that led to this relationship. That's
right.
That's not really for us to speculate about.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes being in the public eye is a very lonely place because there are all sorts of eyeballs on you, and you feel like you cannot have a personal life, you cannot have a divorce or whatever. So who knows? But again, our focus is she made this decision to have this affair. So the question is, how did it affect taxpayers?
Yeah. You're exactly right. You know what? You're a decent man.
I try to be.
But you are, and that's why you're fair, and I think that's one reason she sat down and interviewed with you, and she could have interviewed with anyone because she knew you would be fair, and you will continue to be fair. We'll take a break. When we come back, more of your calls and more of the comments that we have on Facebook as well. Stay with us.
This is a Storm 5 HD weather update.